Welcome to the Susan Brender Show. It's all about you, featuring shows on health and wellness, the performing arts, politics, and people who inspire you to be your best. And now, here's Susan Brender.
I'm Susan Brender, and this is the Susan Brender Show. Today, my guest is Michael Tamez. Now, Michael was obese, very, very obese. He had sleep apnea, high blood pressure, and gum disease. Not only did he reverse all those conditions, but he also transformed the dysfunctional relationship he had with food, his lifestyle, and his true self. I want to welcome Michael Tamez to the Susan Brender Show.
Thank you, Susan. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
You know, Michael, I know that when people are obese, there's a lot of prejudice in the world toward obese people. Did you have problems with people just saying, wait, why do you like that?
You know what? I was so unpresent in that point in my life. I really didn't even if it was happening, I wasn't really aware of it. So, yeah, I mean, I was pretty much in an unconscious state in my life, and I really didn't even care if people thought I was, if people thought however they thought. It didn't affect me. So, I mean, I know I observe that now that I'm, fit and healthy, but when I was at that point, when I was morbidly obese, I didn't actually notice that.
Huh. Now, this experience was intensified when you lost 5 family members in 18 months. Tell our audience about that.
Yeah, I was, during my 13-year health transformation experience, my dad actually was diagnosed with ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease. It is a horrible disease, in my opinion, probably one of the worst that exists. It attacks the motor neurons in the brain and basically causes your muscles to atrophy and to the point where you become paralyzed and on breathing machines in hospice. And he was diagnosed in 2004, and he was given a 2 to 3 year life expectancy at that point. So this was during the time I was learning and researching all about nutrition and reformulating my diet and everything and getting rid of the chemicals and processed food. So I incorporated a lot of what I was learning with trying to help him slow the progression of the disease. And he incorporated a lot of it into his way of living and everything, and it greatly reduced the progression of it. They gave him 2 to 3 years, but he ended up living 10 years with it, and passed away in 2012.
Right.
So that was the first death, and it really impacted me because my dad was like my best friend, like a brother. I was very close to him, and it caused a lot of grief and I had to deal with a lot with that loss. And then my grandfather, about 9 months later, went in the hospital. He had dementia really bad, and he just got really sick, and he was in ICU. And then from that point, his condition worsened, and then he eventually passed away. So at that point, this was a grandfather on my dad's side, and then my 2 uncles, also on my dad's side, they took the news very badly. One of them was already had problems with alcohol, and he just started hitting the bottle even worse. And he actually passed away from alcohol poisoning, like 2 months after my grandfather passed away. And then my other uncle he had a heart attack, and then he went in the hospital and eventually passed away another couple months later. So in the period of about 13 months, I lost 4 family members, all from my dad's side, in that short of a time. Like 5 months after that, I got a call from my cousin saying that my 29-year-old cousin passed away. And he was a tattoo artist, and they believe it was from too many tattoos in a short period of time that caused him to have blood poisoning. So in 18 months, about a year and a half, I lost 5 family members, and that was a very challenging time in my life to deal with, on top of all the health stuff I was going through. And it really forced me to have powerful breakthroughs with some of the things that were really difficult to deal with in my life. I had to process these emotions and feel the grief and cry and be mad and feel the anger and the frustration of all this stuff happening to me, processing it. in a healthy way. And I think that's very, very important. It's a very important aspect that's kind of overlooked in a lot of in the healthcare system that we have. Is to stuff your emotions away and don't feel them, take medication for them and cover them up, instead of actually feel it, express it, and then move on with your life. Now here I am 3 years later, and I've moved on, I've processed it, and I'm healthy.
Yeah. Now, that terrible experience obviously had a huge impact on you. Now, is that what inspired you to write an empowering book about life? Well,
that was one of the inspirations. The biggest inspiration, there's two of them, two really big inspirations for me to write my book, Transformative Nutrition. The first one was obviously my weight loss and health transformation experience of losing 100 pounds, reversing gum disease, sleep apnea, but also the experience of my dad. And I watched his health decline over the 10-year period, and it was really difficult to see. And I wanted to bring awareness of everything that I learned over the course of all those years to people on how they can make modifications to their lifestyle that have a profound and lasting impact.
Mm-hmm. So, Michael, your mission is to inspire a permanent shift in the way people eat, think, feel, live, and love?
Yes, that's correct. With the work I do health coaching. So I have all this knowledge and information that I've learned over the years. So I wanted some sort of formal certification or something, giving me the credential, or that I can, actually help people with this, with their, their health struggles or health goals. So I became certified as a holistic health coach through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And yes, my mission is to impart all the wisdom, all the knowledge, all the experience, everything that I've uncovered in people, and give this information to a world that's in need. I mean, we currently have the highest rate of obesity, diabetes, heart disease, cancer in America, and also in other countries globally. And my main goal is to make a significant impact on this problem we have right now, and present a realistic and progressive solution to this problem. And that solution is health coaching. And my book, Transformative Nutrition, The Ultimate Guide to Healthy and Balanced Living, goes into full detail about what coaching is and what it can do for the system, the medical system that we have, and the obesity epidemic that we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, here's something that I'm interested in. People talk about alternative modalities. They also talk about holistic medicine. Now, I want the audience to understand exactly what is considered alternative and holistic.
Well, alternative, if you just break down the word, it just means an alternate reality, an alternate system to the current system. So the current system we have now is the medical system that's based on science, it's based on medications and the bodily functions. It's not really looking at you as a whole person, as an integrated being of your thoughts and emotions and your spiritual connection and your career and your relationships and your social life, your joy, all this stuff makes a person whole and complete, which is what holistic means. You're a whole and complete being. So, the difference between that is, so you have, your conventional system, which is the drugs, medications, and surgeries, mm-hmm. and then your alternatives are, your naturopathic doctors and your healers and people that have a more, a different approach to where, they actually get to know the patient, get to know their, what they're struggling with, what they're dealing with, and looking at them on them as, a holistic level, not isolating parts of their body. Because if you look at our body and look at how we're all one, we're connected. And when you isolate things and needing a referral for every specialist that you can possibly think of, that's isolating everything. And that's not how our body is meant to operate. We're a whole and complete being. And when you isolate like that, it creates separation. And that separation is what, in my opinion, has caused all the health problems we have going on. We've become disconnected from our natural state, which is a holistic state of being.
Now, some people might think that's a little out there. because, alternative medicine is a great way to deal with health, but tell our audience, explain what kind of modalities you used for making you healthy. What did you do?
That's a really good concept, Susan, and I'm glad you brought that up because there is a lot of misconception about holistic health, alternative healing, and that kind of thing. And where we're at right now at this point is people are sick and they're tired. And they're sick and tired of not having answers from their doctor. So they're looking elsewhere, and there's a lot of people researching, doing internet searches, asking questions, wanting answers, because they're tired of just saying, just having their doctor say, here, take this medication to cover up your symptoms. That doesn't work because if you don't get to the root of your symptom, which is one of the basic modalities that I practice, is getting to the root cause of your symptom. And I'd like to explain the simple analogy of, think about a garden. You have this beautiful, lush garden with amazing vegetables, fruits, whatever, growing, and then it's overtaken by weeds. Now, the weeds, you can't let the weeds stay, growing in your garden because they're gonna destroy your crops. They're gonna, cut off the roots and everything. You have to remove them. Yeah. Our medical system, the way it's designed now, is to cut those weeds at the soil level, so that it appears that all the weeds are gone and your garden is beautiful again. However, the problem with that approach, and that approach would be medications and prescriptions. The problem with that approach is that it leaves the root intact in the soil, and when you do that, what happens? The weeds come back, and they usually come back twice as bad, and they branch out even more, and then they take over even worse. Unless you actually dig in the soil and pull the root out completely and get rid of the cause of why your garden is overtaken, then it's just going to keep coming back and getting worse. Yeah. That simple concept describes the approach I take, and getting to the root of health issues involves it involves a commitment. And it involves a commitment at a level that's deep. And what I mean by that is, getting to what is causing the physical ailments that you have. Are there unprocessed emotions that you're dealing with from a relationship maybe 10 years ago? Are you miserable at your job? Do you come home and stuff your face or eat junk food or have some kind of food addiction because you are not happy with your career choice? These are the kind of questions that I ask people in my health coaching sessions, and these are the kind of open-ended questions that I present in my book, Transformative Nutrition, so people can get a deep understanding and grasp of where their health struggles are coming from, because there's definitely a source, and unless you get to that source, you're never going to understand what it's going to take to eliminate the health problem completely, instead of covering it up with medications and surgery and that kind of thing. And don't get me wrong, I don't completely bash the medical system. I just don't think it's a sustainable solution to the health problems that we face as a nation and as a world as it is.
Now, Michael, what changes in our healthcare system do you feel are needed to support people who struggle with being overweight or have sleep apnea and other problems about their health? There must be some solution, and does the healthcare system help with that?
I think, like I was saying, I think there's a purpose for the healthcare system the way it is designed as it is now, and it's to provide a temporary fix to ailments that that people may have. So from what I see a system that creates customers instead of cures. And what I see that would be powerful to impact that would be to actually have trained professionals, people that experts and people that are leaders that understand and know what it's like to have something and then not. So for my situation, being morbidly obese and having health complications because of it, and then, losing 100 pounds and reversing all those diseases, I can come from a place of understanding and get into a people's world and know and understand the struggles that come up for them when they're trying to lose weight. Like, for example, if there's anyone in the audience listening that can relate to what I'm saying, then you know that most likely you would be more inclined to work with someone that gets you on that level, that understands your struggles. Because most of the time, a lot of health experts, doctors, haven't been through that kind of transformation, so they don't understand what it's like to experience the things that come up. Because there's a lot of stuff that comes up, and you have to deal with it in a way that's not conventional, and the conventional approach doesn't have the answer for that. And one of the most significant solutions that I describe in my book, Transformative Nutrition, and also one of the segments of Dr. Oz, he was on CNN. He was actually presenting a solution as well, and the solution is health coaching. It's a tier of trained professionals that support doctors in getting people to reach all their health goals. And in doing so, health coaches sit with each client and understand everything going on in their health and in their life, how it's all connected, and the steps they need to take to get to where they want to be with their health, whether it be weight loss, whether it be overcoming food addiction, whether it be gaining muscle, or just whatever it may be. That's what I see as a solution. One of the solutions.
Michael, let me ask you this: there are hundreds of thousands of companies in the U.S., and can you imagine if every company gave its employees an opportunity to be with someone like yourself? Wouldn't that change the way people feel, the way people think, change their health in general? I mean, would that be a good solution, do you think?
Absolutely. And I'm seeing it pop up now these days. It's called corporate wellness plans, and they actually have health coaches that they hire to come to their corporate office and give talks, give workshops, have private sessions even with some of their employees, and the company pays for it because they realize that it's an investment in their employees' health. When you have a happy, healthy employee, you have an employee that's going to be loyal, that's going to be productive, that's going to be minimal time off because they're sick less often, they have less medical expenses, less doctor appointments. It is a win-win situation for both employee and employer.
Mm-hmm. Now, my show is about vitality. I always like to say that vitality is the most important thing that you can achieve in your life because, if you're vital, look at what you can do. Now,
absolutely.
And now, do you see the possibility of our society to be a very vital society because somehow they get rid of some of the processed food, they get rid of all those trans fats, all the fructose and things like that. And what do you think it's going to take to get rid of all these things? Because our companies that are producing all this processed food, they are big and they're powerful and they're very hard it's very, very difficult to change the way they do things. So what would you say to this?
That's true, Susan. However, I also would like to say that the whole, the statement of power in numbers, it takes people like me doing what I'm doing and coming on, shows and talking about what I know and what I can offer and just planting seeds of awareness. Because when you plant seeds of awareness, they sprout and they grow into trees, and then trees turn into forests, and then it just takes over. When you have more awareness, then more of the corporations, the global corporations that are trying to keep us sick and unhealthy, then they have no choice but to reformulate things. And you see it happening. There's activists, there's people that that go after these chemical corporations, and they have petitions and they have people following them, and they have protests, and it actually causes some of these places to really rethink things and reevaluate and reformulate their ingredient labels even. I've seen it happen a lot. A lot of companies now are completely reformulating their products because they know that consumers are more health conscious these days and want to know what foods have genetically modified, ingredients in them, what foods have trans fats, hydrogenated oils, and high fructose corn syrup and MSG and these kind of things. So they pretty much have no choice but to reformulate their products. Otherwise, they're going to lose business, and they don't want that. These big corporations are driven by money. They're driven by profit. So if they see that their profit is threatened, then, they're going to have to do something about it. Otherwise, they're going to, experience losses, and that's not good.
Michael, I had a nutritionist on my show. She's a really top nutritionist and dietitian from Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in New York. And one of the things I said to her is, how do you change the minds of young people when you have a company like McDonald's? And I don't want to pick on McDonald's only because there are many restaurants and chains like McDonald's. But she said, here's the thing. She said, we know how to make people healthy. We understand some of the elements of really helping young people and older people to be in good shape, to be healthy in many ways. But she said, how do you fight a company that is so big, so powerful, that the way they give their commercials, their advertisements, and if you walk in front of a company like McDonald's, all of a sudden you get this whiff of their French fries. And it's hard, it's very hard to pass them by. So what do you say to that?
My main thing that I would say is turn off the TV and turn on your creativity. That is powerful. Because when you think about it, they get us with their marketing, their clever ads, they're programmed with subliminal messages to have you crave their food and want to eat it. They make their prices so low that, oh, wow, I can go get something from the dollar menu, or, I with $5 I can eat a full meal, or even two people can eat with that. So they know this. They hone in on, on how we live and our weaknesses. And then they make these ads and commercials that, get you thinking in your subconscious mind, so that when you pass their restaurant, you're drawn to the drive-thru. I mean, you see all the drive-thrus. They have a line. They have even dual drive-thru lines now. They curve around the whole front end. They fill their stores. Mm-hmm. So when people get present to this concept and eliminate the source of these ads, then it turns off that conditioning, because we're conditioned to we've grown up with this junk food, and it's a normal part of our life, and that's what they want. They want it to be that way. But when you actually get present to that and eliminate that, some things can start opening up, and that's when awareness can set in, and then you can, people realize that, oh wow, I've been conditioned to think that I need to eat this food because I grew up on it, and my parents did, and their parents, and it was just taught from generation to generation. But you can actually reprogram that by getting in tune more with your creative side.
Right.
When we spend hours watching TV, or following people, or like we do with social media, we're following everyone, but and that's fine to have to be a fan of something or someone, but I mean it's gotten to the point where it's fanatical, mm-hmm. and it's actually damaging to not only our minds and emotions, but our health, because it turns off our creative side. And when that happens, then we disconnect from what we're capable of. Right. Because when we're in tune with creativity, whether it be drawing, painting, writing, anything, singing, dancing, we create a space of health, because then we're actually manifesting our leadership, because we're putting our product or our service out there. So I mean, this is one of the things that I think that kids these days, they're born with these incredible abilities, and we're at a point right now where we're more accepting of it, and just letting them flourish in that mm-hmm. can actually bring awareness to younger generations, or even older people that are older, and just aware of what just mindful of what you're watching, and letting in crowd your brain, and filling it more with creative stuff and stuff that's going to move you forward.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's all connected on that level. And once you start getting it at that level, then it affects your physical, and then you're more conscious of what you're putting into your body as far as food goes.
Yes. And, one of the things that I'm thinking of is that when young people are taught at the very earliest part of their life how to lead a very healthy life, what kinds of foods to eat, how, when should they eat, when should they indulge in some little wonderful little sweet thing, that sort of thing. When they're taught when they're young, they can influence their parents probably more than anything else, don't you think?
I do. I really do. I mean, there's a lot of kids these days that their parents actually learn from them because of how accelerated they are, right. And it's actually it's wowing a lot of people. Scientists even are looking, are observing and having experiments going on and trying to understand how kids these days have this knowing of things, and they can't explain it, and it's pretty awesome. And it's even better when the parents or the grandparents even are open to it, because it's kind of damaging to the ego when you think about how difficult it is to listen to someone younger than you, especially significantly younger than you. And when you can get past that story of how the ego is trying to control that, then you can actually learn something from your kids. Learn something from people that are younger than you, because you never know when someone's going to teach you something that you didn't know, and when you can have an exchange of information that could be significant to your life, mm-hmm. or to your health, or to something.
Yeah, and another thing that I'm thinking of is the fact that there are other countries in the world, and I'm thinking of places like Japan, where the children are taught from a very early age to eat salads for breakfast and various kinds of things that are very good for your health. Why is it that a country like Japan is able to help their kids to lead a very healthy life from the beginning, as opposed to the U.S.? What do you think about that?
Well, I think in countries like Japan and countries in the Mediterranean, where you have the longest lifespans and the healthiest environments, I think it's their culture. I mean, if you look, you don't see obesity in those kind of countries. You don't see the heart disease and cancer rates in those countries. Mm-hmm. They have a connection to food that we used to have at one point. We've become disconnected with real food, real conversation, real love, and we've become more connected to fast, processed, instantaneous gratification. We want food and we want it now. We don't want to wait and sit together with the family and make a meal and create an amazing, dinner. We want to go to the, fast food restaurant and just go in the drive-thru. We have dinner instantaneously. I think that's one of the biggest problems with America is, we're just so, go that, we don't have time to spend to, create amazing meals and, delicious and healthy food for our family.
Mm-hmm. So the last question I have for you is, does the health transformation journey ever end?
Once a person makes a commitment to investing in their health, it becomes part of their life. So, and in my opinion, it is the best investment you could ever make for your health, because you can have all the money in the world, you can be rich, you can be famous, and have everything, but if your health is poor, then there's no quality of life, and you can't enjoy those riches if you're not in good health. So, investing in your health it's a lifelong journey, and it's something that it doesn't have to be dreadful or seem like a daunting task. If you start with small goals, but have your ultimate goal in mind, then you take those small steps, and then once you get to that ultimate goal at the top, you look back and you can't believe what the incredible journey that you just embarked on to get there was. It's amazing. So integrating it as a lifelong process is more sustaining than saying, say you're going to go on a fad diet or go on some kind of cleanse or weight loss program, because anybody can lose weight. Keeping it off permanently, like I have for 13 years, mm-hmm. now that's a different story, and that's another level of commitment, dedication, intention, and manifestation. And this is all explained, in detail in my book, Transformative Nutrition.
Yeah. So we're just about finished, and I think our audience has learned a lot from you, Michael. Now, you have a book, and you've mentioned it a couple of times, but I want you to tell our audience again what's the name and how did they get it, and give them your website, and you have a blog as well. So give them all the information they need to find out more about nutrition and learn more about what you're about.
That's right, Susan. My book the full title is Transformative Nutrition, The Ultimate Guide to Healthy and Balanced Living. And it's available anywhere books are sold online, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo. If you visit my website, which is transformative-nutrition.com, you can order it straight from there. And if you go on my website, I have tons of articles. I have a free newsletter that I send out weekly with the latest article. I have recipe ideas in there. I have free ebooks sometimes. I have giveaways. A lot of good stuff. A lot of helpful, insightful information. And yeah, that's it. So my website is transformative-nutrition.com. You can get the book, sign up for my newsletter, and connect with me in other social media aspects.
Well, Michael Tamez, you've been an inspiration to all of us, and I really thank you for giving out your story, because it was quite an important story to tell. I mean, you really had a tough time, but you got through it, and that's an inspirational kind of feeling that you gave me, and I'm sure our audience will enjoy it too. So thank you again, Michael Tamez, for being on the Susan Brender Show.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Susan Brender Show.